Hey guys, welcome to my channel where if you know, you can grow. So let's erase our doubt and let's pay attention because with Sean, it's always something to learn. What's going on today, guys? All right, so what we're gonna do today is repot this Monstera. I've had this plant in here probably for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And at the end of the day, I don't believe that the plant is reaching its full capacity because the pot is just too big. I do have a new leaf that's about to unfurl on there, which could cause some disruption, but after carefully just assessing the plant, something needs to be done, and more so sooner than later. I am just in a repotting frenzy right now, just trying to make sure all my plants has already been repotted while I have this nice summer weather that's going to help the plant be able to acclimate. I am not a person who believes in not repotting over the winter time. If a plant needs to be repotted, I will repot it, but I am making great use of the spring and summer weather to be able just to make sure that it acclimates pretty good. With that being said, so what brought to my attention was when I was doing a film, and when you're doing your maintenance, is that I just started noticing like the leaves are just very yellow. A lot of this under part right here was rolling with being yellow, and that comes from sunburn. But in this instance, it is sunburn. I had these plants to the window. If you've ever gone to my Instagram page and you notice that these plants, especially my Monsteras, probably have made the most movement in my room as possible. I have moved them from the left to the right, to the front, to the back, and you really typically, plants don't like to be moved. Where you put them at, that's where they like to be. Well, with the transition of me making my move, as well as trying to get the plant room set up to not only be functional, but aesthetically pleasing, well, something had to take the downfall for it. Unfortunately, this Monstera did, as well as a couple of my Monsteras that I had over there at that window. I believe the light's just too bright and it's just causing a little bit of issues. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this plant out of here and we're gonna take a look at these roots and we're gonna see exactly what it is that's going on and get it repotted in something a lot smaller. Again, I was new to this at the beginning and I didn't understand the concept of you just want to slowly upgrade your plant, especially, I know a Monstera gets to be really big, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you adjust the pot size to the growth, not so much as what it's going to become. I know that these plants can get to be pretty big, so I call myself just cutting time. Hey, I'm just going to buy a big pot, so it's good to go. Now, what happens is that when you put a plant like this in a pot this size, one, you put yourself at risk for all kinds of sicknesses, and the main thing being root rot. This plant was entirely too big to go in here to start with. Second thing, what happens is that once you put your plant in something like this, a pot that's just too big, not only do you have to worry about root rot, but now my plant is gonna focus its energy on trying to fill out this pot with its roots because Monsteras like to be snug. And that means that my leaves at the top, I'm not going to get full developed leaves. I have a Monstera that's smaller, that's younger than this, that's pushing out way bigger leaves, and that's just with the pot size that's going on. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is squeeze the pot just to make sure that the plant can come out a little bit better. The last thing I want to do is be hitting and bumping because these roots are attached sometimes to the inner part, or it's just clumped up and dried together. So this is a good way to break it up. Second thing that I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna go ahead and clear this section off right here so I actually have some room. Sure you have all your tools that you need when you're doing these repots. The only thing that I don't keep around that I know that I need is water. That's because I'm clumsy, so I'm gonna bump it and water's gonna be on the floor and never touch the plant. So we'll get to that part last. But I'm hoping with this it's gonna be a really smooth transition, so I shouldn't need too many tools other than just repotting, and I do have some available soil. we have here. And if you look at the bottom, let's see if I can get a little closer without it getting messy. It's gonna be messy either way. Don't know if y'all can see these roots with that light, but they're at the bottom as well as here. And these roots that are right here are not doing good. They're dried all the way out. So good thing we're in here. All right, now what I'm gonna do is just go in here with my hand and kind of tap and get this badness away. And you're gonna see exactly what these roots sizes are in relation to this pot size, and you're gonna see exactly how we got to this point. Bounce, pull, and separate. That's all we're doing. We definitely have one with this. We have this, which has the new one. Which this one actually doesn't look bad, like sunburn or anything. So this is looking good. We have this one, and we have this one. So 4 plants inside of one. I don't know how that happened. I didn't do it. I believe the issue just with this plant is that it's just dry. So we're gonna cut this. I'm gonna cut this yellow part off because it doesn't need it. And then I'm gonna drop it into a smaller pot. Next thing, getting into this one right here. This plant seems to be doing pretty good. This was the one that, again, this one doesn't have any type of yellow. It has a little bit of sunburn going on, but it looks pretty good. So we're gonna place this one also into a separate pot. And this is pretty, this is good. This one right here, what I'm gonna do when I repot this plant, I'm gonna repot it all the way up to this area root right here, just to give it a little bit more strength and a little bit more support, because I believe this plant is gonna do great. We're probably gonna go ahead and cut this stem off though, because when I repot it, I am gonna try to drop it all the way up to right here. So this one will have to go. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this one now. And if I had to put money on which one is gonna outshine and really gonna do great, it's gonna be this one right here. The root system is pretty good. It's not a lot of dried out parts. And of course we have a new leaf that's pushing out. So I'm not gonna really disrupt too much of what this has going on, but guys, this soil, I don't know what was used to make this, but it's not airy enough. Which I believe that was a problem that started on earlier that I didn't catch. Is when we say we want to have an airy and a chunky root, like this is what we mean. We want to make sure that when we water in our plants that it allows the water to be able to hit the roots. What happens sometimes is that if you have a dried out soil or just a bad mix, the water will go around the roots and never really go in. And then those roots just sitting there and just keep fighting for moisture. And you're thinking you're watering your plant when really when you water and you think that it's going down, it's actually going off to the side and coming out the pot, and you think you watered, done a good job, and the plant over here is just dying. So clearly it got a little bit of water because it's green, but it's just a lot of missed opportunities. So, and that's another thing to pay for. Like, look, that's another thing to pay attention to. Check the health on your plant. Like if a plant isn't growing the way it's supposed to be growing, these are monsteras. Like within a year, your plant, with the monstera, within a year, your plant should be double its size. That's how fast they grow. I've never met anybody that has a healthy monstera that the plant doesn't just grow and take off. If your plant still your monstera is still Monstera Deliciosa, make sure I clarify. If this Monstera Deliciosa is looking the same exact size as when you bought it 6 months to a year ago, something's wrong. Now Now be careful when you get in here because you don't want to break any healthy roots. All I'm doing is just trying to get away the dead stuff that's just not going to be any good for the plant. Okay. Put this back here. So the next step that I have to do is something I'm not prepared for because I didn't know I was going to have 4 plants. Now I have to find 4 different pots in order to plant this. I'm thinking maybe not 4 pots, maybe 3, because I'm thinking about just combining these 2 that I have here. These pots are way too big now after taking this out. As you can even tell, even with a plant that's this size, still, if you look at the root system, a good rule of thumb is you want to take a look at this Monstera, and depending on the root size, your root ball, you don't want to go too much bigger than your root ball when you're repotting your plant. So let's just say ideally we're going to put this plant something like this. We can go with, if I could find a pot that would be good in size like this. I don't like the drainage system on here, so I wouldn't use this pot. Definitely would use more of a nursery pot that has a lot of water holes, that's how you say it. Either way, put water in, you know that it's gonna have a good drainage system. This pot only having 1, so that I'm gonna be back having this problem again if I continue to use this. So, but this is a good size pot for what I wanna go with for this. Just because this plant's this big, guys, this pot will be too big. I know you want to say, hey, put it in here, it's good to go. Let's not do that. All right, guys, I went out, found some pots that I know we're going to be able to make this work. We're going through this a lot of times, so let's see what we can find here. I like these pots like this. I think that they serve pretty good. I prefer the clear pots because you can kind of see the roots and see what's going on. But if you're not gonna do anything to fix the roots, it doesn't really matter if you know what's going on. So let's take a look here, work with these right here. I am gonna go ahead and just combine these 2 because they're just, actually, I don't need to combine these because you hear some people who will cut the root and say it could dry out and then you repot it after all that. We're not doing all that. I haven't seen a Monstera like a philodendron. They're very forgiving plants and they could just acclimate to anything, so we're not going to do all that. I'm going to keep it real. We're going to go ahead, we're going to dip it in here, then we're going to go ahead and get this repotted. So do a little dip, boom. Now if you feel like your plant has a disease, then put your when you're doing your repotting, don't stick your stem in there and contaminate it. But first we're going to clean up this hot mess because I'm going to go ahead and repot and some clean stuff. Just about to do this. I'm about to do some serious repotting. I just need to make a big mix. All right, so I do 1/3 of all. So I'm gonna get this bucket filled up. Now this bucket, keep in mind this bucket does widen out, so some mix is gonna look a little different. So we got a good mix in here. Next, I'm gonna get my perlite. Never have too much perlite. So. Only thing that I will tell you just to be mindful of is when you're doing your like your pot mix. That's the one thing that you can have a lot of that could really just do some damage if it just holds on too much moisture. But your orchid and your perlite, that's just gonna help with your drainage and area. Now you don't want your plant drying out every day and you're not watering it too, so be mindful of that. All right, orchid bark is up. Now, this is also a really good mix if you're not going to make your own, but since I have some of this and I'm trying to get this filled up, I'm going to go ahead and just add some since I just ran out of my orchid bark. All right, guys, so as you can see, this is a real good chunky mix. And we're good to go. All right, first one up. Now I just cut my nails, but if I didn't just cut my nails, I would have on some gloves because who wants to be walking around with soil all under their fingers and stuff, right? Okay. We're just simply gonna put this in like this. good time to get some direction. If you need to add a stick or a stake to your plants to make sure that they do come aligned. I love these clear pots, but they are very thin, so I usually have to stack them inside of something else just to get the plant to kind of stay up and stay stable. So you just want to get your plant in there. That soil, as you saw there, I tried to get it deep in there. I got the root right here to about like halfway. If you plant it too far down when you do your dip, the roots are gonna start growing out, and maybe necessarily not grow the pot, but they're gonna start growing out, which is gonna cause for repot, because once your roots start growing out, they're gonna be sitting in water, which is gonna cause all types of yellowing to your plant. So a good rule of thumb is about place it halfway, so it allows for roots to be able to drop down. See how that allows for that to be able to drop in there. There is not a lot of room that's going on around this, but with a good airy mix, it should not be a problem. Had a pot thinking that this is the size it's gonna go in, and I've had to change it up and swap it out I don't know how many times just to make sure I get the right fit. Because at the end of the day, I just want my plants to do good. So I don't mind doing a little bit of extra work, because I mean, how many times are you actually gonna be repotting the same plant? Like, what, once a year at most, if that? So it's worth giving it that little bit of time and care, which is the reason why a lot of people plants don't seem to survive, because you have to take the time out to pay attention to what's going on with them. You can't just place them in dirt and give them water and that's it. No, they require a little bit of care. Oddly or not, the roots that was on the one previously before this was a little bit bigger. Actually had more roots if you was to ask me. So we're gonna use the same exact size and we get ready to repot this one as well. So what I wanna do is make sure this time though, when I repot, that this air root actually goes into the soil, which is gonna cause the plant to grow bigger, faster. Anytime you do your repot with your monsteras, take your area roots and make sure they go into the soil as well. They make the plant grow faster. Okay. Let's get that on up. That root thought it was gonna sit down there and I didn't see it. All right, so we in here. Go all the way deep inside here just to make sure this is gone, although I could have went up with it even more, but I had too much stem at the bottom to actually have roots going on. So if I would have cut that off, I would have cut a lot of roots. Do a close with you. All right, we're gonna tap this to make sure we're good. And guys, I'm gonna run and get a stake to be able to make sure that this thing does not lean or fall. All right, guys, so this is what I have now. Where do I get these from? Go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, your local big box store, and they have like a little trash pile where people go and they cut their plywood and then they just throw it in this little section, this little bin. I go in there, scoop them up, and just walk out the store with it. It's never been an issue, never been a problem. Now, I don't go in there every day and do it. I go in there like once a month, re-up on supplies and keep it moving. I've been getting planks, huge ones, all of that, so it works. Nobody said anything yet, so I don't believe it's stealing. I'm helping them out. All right, so we're gonna take this stake right here and we're gonna put it right back here, because this plant is definitely gonna lean, because you can tell by the weight, right? So let's just go ahead and alleviate that problem. We already have an area root that's growing right here that we hope we can get some attachment. Now, what am I using? This right here is called graphing tape, and you can get this from Amazon, which I also have an Amazon storefront, guys. I'm just taking this graphing tape and I'm just going around here with it. And you can see this area root right here, which I was talking about or referring to. I want to make sure this stays as closest to this plant as possible, and as long as I water this, it's going to feel that humidity and it's going to start attaching to it. And when it starts attached to it, the plant's going to grow faster and get bigger. So you can clearly see that this pot was way too big. So what we're going to need to do is just to water these thoroughly. These are watering trays. You get these from Amazon. You can never have enough of these. I'm gonna also put this in my store so you can be able to pick up and you know exactly what kind it is that I got. So Before we get ready to water, we want to make sure that we hit our plants with some Super Thrive. I've noticed that when I've done repots, the plants just acclimate a lot better. This is not the first time of me saying this, so I know I'm sounding like a broken record. It is what it is, okay? I want you all to use it because it's good and it's going to help your plants to be able to acclimate to your repotting and get you to go ahead on about your business. So, I'm going to pour some in here. And then I'm going to make sure I water every single plant. Now, it may not go all the way thoroughly with this right here, but I'm going to follow behind just with regular water. I just want to make sure all the plants get some of that Super Thrive. It's being watered, and then we're going to see it start to pass through. When you start seeing it pass through, that's when you know that it's water. See that? That's what we want, guys. So as always, I appreciate you taking the time to be here because I know you could have been anywhere, but you decided to be here, and that means something to me. Hopefully, watching me repot these Monsteras is going to give you some motivation and some confidence to go and do yours. If you have any questions or any comments, guys, put it down at the bottom. I actually go through there and read them daily, so we're good to go with that. So, with all that being said, when you grow with Sean, it's always something to learn.